What? And I says, you know, forever. And he said, sometimes. This is what you do. And he says, well, you know, usually sometimes he said, well, if murdered and the family don't know, we stone them, you know, to death. And I said, what else? Well, you know, you take them into the family, and the son they've killed, we make them, they take over the work that has to be done. Because they just couldn't understand how any society could lock folk up for no discernible purpose, especially young fit males who have work to do. You could go and till the fields or choose the kit, that you just lock them up and you do nothing with them forever. You know, how bizarre. You know, who's the barbarians here? Us or them? So as I say, we've got to get the message across. Sentencing, you know, in a community is actually payback. It's get out there and do it. Some of that's not needed to be done by, it's why we're trying to refocus the Scottish Prison Service. Some of them will have to be addressed if they've got a drug or alcohol problem, might not be fit for employment, and that has to be dealt with by a qualified social worker. After that, what we need is a, you know, a prison officer or a foreman joiner that says, you get the brushes, you get the shovels, you get your earth and gear, and you, if you don't behave, you're going inside. So we've got to address that. So I think it's a media handling matter of how we persuade the judiciary that actually sentencing, you know, community sentencing delivers, and as I say, community sentencing can be tough. That said, if somebody says I'm not doing it, well, you had your chance, you were told to 120 hours. If you're not doing 120 hours, you're in the jail. You know, we don't rule that out. There has to be some sanction at the end of the day, and if folk cock a snoop, then that's where they're going. Sure, Malta, I can't
take out a couple of them. Oh, you already. Sorry. Yeah.
I do a lot of work with Amnesty International. One of our big concerns at the moment, specific to Scotland, is tasers. Alex Salmond's already kind of conveyed his concern about this to us when we asked him, but I was just wondering what the current Scottish Government position is on them and whether there's been any more developments.
Well, there's been no more developments. I mean, they are available to police forces. Our view is that there are instances in which using them is clearly better than a loaded real firearm. So obviously we're concerned by them. We wouldn't want them to be random, but you know, we're not going to preclude them from use, because I'm conscious of what's said to me by the police. In other instances now, because of replica weapons, because of youngsters, whether drunk or just fooling around, sooner or later in Scotland we're going to have some young person shot by an armed police officer. It actually might be better that we use a taser. That's not to say that tasers are risk-free. I do know that the matters, but no, we're not for unlimited or unregulated use, but you know, we do allow the police the ability to have that sanction to make a judgment call as to whether some daft laddie out there prancing around should be shot with a loaded weapon if he refuses to put it down, or indeed, you know, should maybe be dealt with by a taser. That's a judgment call, an operational matter. None of those instances are pleasant or appropriate, but I think we've got to, you know, not simply protect officers in difficult situations, but we do have these situations arising now because of the, you know, even if you watch the news tonight, you know, firearms are not simply something that exists south of the border. They're everywhere.
You talked about Conservative proposals to build more prisons and Labour proposals on the bill. You talked on the causes of crime. You also got accused rightly or wrongly of breaking manifesto pledges. How do you feel? Sorry, do you feel frustrated by working in a minority government, or do you feel liberated by being able to compromise with other people?
No, I actually think it's beneficial to compromise. I have to say, obviously, my life would be a lot easier if we could just know that what we wanted we would deliver. But you know, I think we have to put things in context. Nobody enters into politics to make Scotland more lawless place. You know, no government, you know, not criticising Tory government about some of their economic policies that resulted in that, but nobody of other political colouring in the Scottish Parliament actually wants to make Scotland worse, you know, to make it more dangerous. So you have to suspect, we do disagree in matters. I disagree quite, you know, often with Bill Aitken in a variety of matters, but there's matters that we agree upon. So I think there are some fundamental ideological matters that we agree to disagree on. There are areas we just have to recognise that it's about working together. When I was the opposition spokesman, a lot of the Labour and Liberal Democrat legislation we supported, there was some I was sceptical about, you know, and there's a difference in emphasis. I think Labour especially wanted ASBOs rolled out. Our view is there a need for ASBOs? Yes. Should they be used routinely and randomly? No. So I think there's disadvantages and there's advantages, but I think if you come from the concept that actually we're all here to try and deliver a safer Scotland, then, you know, we can disagree on some things, prison ethos is something we'll do. My response to Bill Aiken is simply going to be, you want more prisons than I've already committed to. You know, and I didn't want to commit to it because it's a private prison. It's going to cost us an absolute fortune under a PPP scheme. We could probably make a fair indentation in tackling heroin if we'd spent £1 billion that this will cost us on that, as opposed to paying Sodexo, who frankly do a fine job running and catering at the Scottish Parliament, but should not be involved in running our prison service. I'll simply say to them, if you don't want this, what do you want to cut? Where are you going to get your money? Or do you want to levy additional taxes? Do you all want to pay more taxes so we build another prison? But that's what you're looking at. And that's it. I actually remember one of my high-flying civil servants who were in New Zealand visiting their daughter, whatever, was telling me they had big adverts saying that simply was, what do you want? Do you want a new prison? Or do you want a new hospital? And most folk in New Zealand went, well, a new hospital, I said. And that's the message we've got to get home. So when Bill says build another prison, right? Do you want me to take back the 500 additional officers? And actually that won't even be anywhere near it. Do you want us not to build a new Forth Road Bridge? Do you want us not to join Carriageway 9? Do you want us not to replenish the schools in Edinburgh? Do you want? So I think it's a culture of respect. Nobody, politics is by nature a confrontational sport at times, but not everything has to be. And we live in a world in which the gap between ideologies has lessened because of the globalisation. I remain committed to being somebody of the left. I'm a social democrat, I'm not a syndicalist or anything such as that, but I am of the left, and that covers a lot of matters. But I do recognise that the days of when you had the forces of capital versus the forces of labour have vastly changed when you live in a global world. You have that culture of respect for each other. You recognise where the differences are. Can we agree on some things and work together? And I've had meetings and regular meetings with Bill Aitken and Pauline McNeill. Because there are some things like human trafficking. That's not party political, it's not ideological. We have to work with south of the border on that because, some of the times that are coming in from Ireland, these kids are being trafficked in from Moldova or the Ukraine. So I think it's a good question. But if you come from a culture of respect, and the big difference, and the one huge difference between the Scottish Parliament and the English Parliament, we are much less adversarial. Part of it's the shape of the building, part of it's the minority government, part of it's just the proportional representation. But we cannot allow Scotland to be the same way. Whatever one party says, the other party says no, and the yeah good thing fundamentally doesn't deliver. In a whole variety of matters, the Scottish Parliament, indeed, and as a government, we will not follow the Anglo-American Australian model. It probably won't be the Australian model given Kevin Rudd's victory, but we will not follow the Anglo-American model, we'll follow the Scandinavian model. It's much better suited to our society. It's much better the way to go, and we are a party of social democracy.
Right, I think we'll leave it list to end the evening. Nick, one quick announcement before we go. Our next event is next Wednesday, a week on Wednesday, 27th of February. We're doing a debate, a joint event between our society and the Debate Society. It's a debate on Trident and on the general efficacy of nuclear deterrence. It's going to be starting at 6 o'clock in Blackwell's, just the hotel, and it's going to be a free one. I was told to plug that, so cover that. We shouldn't, after all the stuff he's discussed tonight. All the motivation is saying,